Pastor. It can be dangerous to read what's written in the Gospels and bring it forward into our world without first considering that it might have meant something different when Jesus said it. So first let's look at the context, the history, and the culture surrounding this oh-so-familiar passage. By the time of Jesus' ministry, the people of Judah and Galilee had been under Roman rule for nearly 100 years. Romans called the area Palestine and treated its inhabitants like servants. If soldiers walking along the road saw a man walking along ahead of them, they could and would force him to drop whatever he was doing and carry their burdens for them, like a human pack mule. If they liked his coat or anything else he owned, they could take it. If he talked back to them, or even if he didn't, they could strike him. Jesus didn't have to spell any of this out. Everyone was entirely too aware of it. When he mentioned these things, they knew very well that he was talking about the things Romans did to them every day. He was saying, in essence, we are a subject nation, an oppressed people, and we are treated badly, but God would not have you behave badly. God would not have you rebel or seek revenge. Rather, if a soldier hits you in the face, turn your face so that he can hit the other side. If he confiscates your coat, give him your shirt. If he curses you, do not say what's on your mind, but instead offer him a blessing. Treat everyone in the way that you want them to treat you, especially those who mistreat you, your enemies, your oppressors. After all, even sinners return good for good, but you're God's children and you need to be better than that. You must act the way of the children of the Most High, and for he is kind to the ungrateful and the wicked. For us, this passage doesn't have quite the immediacy it held for those people listening to Jesus that day, because it's not a lived experience that most of us can relate to. Nonetheless, it is a meaningful and necessary teaching in today's world as well. If you only treat those well who treat you well, what's so great about that? Even sinners do that, Jesus said. The hard part, and what we are called to do, is to be good to those who treat us badly, to love even our enemies, to be compassionate to all people, even as God is compassionate to all. And just in case any of you have been listening to any of those prosperity gospel preachers, give and it will be given to you. The portion you give will determine the portion you receive. In return, really has nothing at all to do with receiving monetary blessings if you give a lot of money to the church. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with the blessings you receive from doing good. Not repayment for doing good, but the blessings you receive when you do good. When you are given of yourself with no expectation of reward. Like when Janice takes a van full of dogs to their new forever homes. When Carlene picks up food to distribute to those who would not have enough to eat otherwise. When you're in a hurry, but you choose to hold the door for some really slow old guy with a walker. These blessings, the feelings that you get just from being helpful to someone, although they're not quantifiable, are far superior to any other form of repayment. Anyone who's ever been on a mission trip to build a house or clean up after a natural disaster, dig a well, for instance, they will tell you that they received far more in the way of blessings from their mission work than did the people they went to help. At the very end of his ministry, Jesus told his disciples to love one another. But throughout his ministry, he taught them how to do that. This passage gives you some very specific examples. Love your enemies. Do good. Lend expecting nothing in return. Don't judge, and you won't be judged. Don't condemn, and you won't be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. and clearest of all the instructions, the golden rule. Treat other people in the same way you want them to treat you. We've heard this our entire lives. We've seen it on wall hangings and bookmarks and bracelets and screensavers and as a meme on Facebook. Those of us who've done cross-stitch or embroidery probably made a sampler with it on. And if you don't know what that is, look it up on, YouTube or someplace. We have heard this so much that some even question whether it's really in the Bible or if it's just one of those things that sound like it ought to be in the Bible. The good news is in this case, yes, it's actually in the Bible. Jesus did say this, and we're pretty good at forgetting it, maybe because we see and hear it so often. Maybe we just need to hear it in different ways. So I saw this on Facebook the other day. Hurt people hurt people. That's how pain patterns get passed on, generation after generation. Break the chain today. Meet anger with sympathy, contempt with compassion, cruelty with kindness, greet grimaces with smiles. Forgive and forget about finding fault. Love is the weapon of the future. In other words, treat others as you want to be treated. If something goes wrong, don't look for someone or something to blame. Blaming others just creates tension and resentment. Regroup and go forward. Or in football terms, drop back 10 yards and punt. And have you ever noticed that when you smile at somebody, they usually smile back? They might think you're a little crazy, but they smile back. If you want to be smiled at, you smile first. Even if you don't feel like it. Love one another. Love is the weapon of the future. I kind of love the idea of weaponizing love, except I think it's been tried. I've got this picture in my head of a girl with flowers in her hair putting a flower in the barrel of a gun way back in the day during the anti-war demonstrations. Still, if at first you don't succeed, and Christians have been living with the love commandment for nearly 2,000 years, surely, eventually, we'll get it right? You think? Although, according to Brennan Manning, the author of the Ragamuffin Gospel, the greatest single cause of atheism in the world today is Christians who acknowledge Jesus with their lips and walk out the door to deny him with their lifestyle. This is what an unbelieving world simply finds unbelievable. And I'm afraid he's right about that. Even believers are put off of church when they see the vicious infighting over who's acceptable and unacceptable for holding membership or being married or getting into a leadership position. Right this minute, today, in St. Louis, the United Methodist Church General Conference is meeting to consider possible plans for dealing with the church's current policies stating the practice of homosexuality is incompatible with Christian teaching. There are several possibilities, several plans being considered, but there is talk of a split no matter what decision is reached. People look at things like that, and they look at nationally known preachers speaking out against a whole raft of groups of people and issues, and they wonder where's the love that these Christians are supposed to have. People see us ignoring the golden rule, which is pretty much how to love one another in a nutshell, and they decide that what we love, they don't want. The early church grew because the members went out and loved others, all others, rejecting none, because that's what Jesus did. And that's what Jesus said we're supposed to do. It's not easy. Most of what Jesus taught us to do is not easy. Most of what Jesus taught us is pretty much the exact opposite of what the rest of the world teaches us. The world says, do unto others before they do it to you. If you are hit them back harder. If you're mistreated, get even. If they're different, reject them. But Jesus says, Love one another as I love you. Accept each other the way I accept you, the way God accepts you. Love your enemy. Do good expecting no reward. Do not judge. Be kind to wicked and ungrateful people. Be compassionate. Forgive. Act as children of the Most High. Treat everyone the same way that you want to be treated. In every situation, in every decision that you make, use the golden ruler. For the portion that you give will determine the portion that you receive in return. My brothers and sisters, please stand and sing with me and ask God to help us accept